So thanks everybody for joining us again for cute for teams, champions using teams effectively. I almost had to check myself. I almost said the name of the other webinar I do. So I got to make sure I know I'm in the right spot. But thanks for joining. I'm Ricardo Wilkins. I think I'm flying solo today. Stacy Nash join often, but I don't think they'll be joining today. So cool. Hopefully you're okay with me. And as always, we're here to just chat it up about teams and take any questions or anything you may have. Consider this office hours. So in turn, you can come off mute, you can use the chat, which I will be attempting to monitor. And we can just have at it. I certainly always have topics to talk about. I do have one locked and loaded, but I'll give you guys a chance to talk about it. And looking in the chat here, Heather. Oh, okay. Just commenting on my a little moment there, forgetting where I was. Yeah. So cool. At first, I thought you were asking a question about how to search in, in Office 365, which is a nice topic of mine. Just quick side note, for those of you obviously got work accounts and personal accounts, and I don't know if you've in your searching and even in your use of Windows, it is very aware of your personal and your work accounts, and search is another one where today you may be realizing there's a work tab related to, yes, I want to do this search, but I want it to be specific to the internal content of my organization, which is super useful, as you can imagine. On the Microsoft side, that's super useful. There's a ton of info, and being able to scope to Microsoft versus a global search is certainly useful. And so I believe you can do that as well, whether you're GCC or commercial online here. I think that work tab is part of search is there. And if it's not, I think it's a simple admin, switch to turn on, forget exactly what it's called. It might be called Bing for Work or something like that. But essentially there's a tab. I guess I could be showing it. So you guys got to remind me when I just get to talking, like, Ricardo, just show us. But before I do that, let me just, the chat's kind of going here. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything. So we got a question about changing channels from standard to private, which I don't think is an option. Yeah, you have a standard channel. You can't convert that to private or vice versa. So you can just create a new private channel, as far as I'm aware. Yep, and Heather confirmed that. Yep, so cool. So the chat's going. Awesome. Anybody out there? A little comment about search. Anybody out there using searching network profile versus personal? Again, here I'll just to show it. Actually, it should be. So of course, in my environment here, don't think I have it enabled, but if I did, it would be a little tab right there that says work, and I don't. Oh, and in fact, I'm not even showing you. Oh my goodness. Yeah, did a search here, and it would normally be a little tab there that says work, and then all of my searches for teams would be specific to my org. So. And there's more integration for that coming as it relates to Windows as well, because it is aware of you in well, at least Windows 11 at least. Anyway, kind of going off on a tangent there, but so cool. Looking at chat. Anyone having issues with live events? Hosted a couple of live events with the store. We started sharing. Some of us lose all content and video feeds 3 times in the past 2 weeks. Yeah, I mean, I have not heard of any widespread issues with live events. I haven't heard that from other customers or anything like that. So hopefully that's not a a big problem. But I guess if it persists, fire up a ticket. Guys have unified support, so we can figure that out. Or by show of thumbs up, are a lot of you all live events users? I know some of you who have brought it up in the past, but thumbs up to the live event users on the call. Got a few popping up there. Yeah. Awesome. And I think I've said in the past, it's as more innovation gets added to the normal Teams meeting, the live event and Teams meeting, that line starting to blur to some degree, right? I mean, if you're doing ultra, hyperscale, 10,000 people in a meeting, live event's the way to go. But your typical meeting can hold 1,000. You can control all of the controls related to cameras and videos and whatnot, so you can manage it like a webinar, especially with the addition of Q&A, which I know for government is often a challenge because of that Yammer requirement. But with the addition now of moderated Q&A, other than the number of participants, Teams and live events are starting to really. It's good that you now have a choice of which to do, right? Do I want my audience to have kind of full fidelity options, or do I just want them to view one to many? So it's good. It's good to have choices. You wish webinars had Q&A up. You wish webinars had Q&A. Are you saying Teams had Q&A? So you're saying we saw Q&A show up in webinar meeting options this week, doesn't seem to do anything. That's interesting. And you're asking your customer advocate for what there, Heather?
Sorry, I don't type well. I'll just unmute.
Okay.
So we have a customer advocate meeting with product group every couple of weeks. And so we were asking them if there was any workaround to the Yammer, because Yammer is required for Q&A and Yammer is not going to be approved in our organization because there's security risks there. We asked if there's another way to get Q&A without being reliant on Yammer. They took it back to the product group, and no matter how many times I asked, they say no.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have any insider info on that, but yeah, I mean, moderated Q&A being brand new currently, its current iteration does have the Yammer dependency. If they're working on a non-Yammer version, I don't know that there's a timeline for that. But it sounds like you've got even more info. Just basically, you're hearing no for that. So
yeah, we'd actually prefer the option to remove that option, since we're not going to enable Yammer, because you're showing it to people. But
yeah, the tease.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. When you in the meeting options, when it shows up as the screenshot that John posted, it leads people to think it's available, and then they get a little cranky when it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Not that that's your fault. I'm just sharing
Right.
sharing the pain with John, saying I hear you.
It's a teachable moment about your organization's policies on the Yammer product. There you go. You see how I did that spin?
Good spin.
Right. Yep. Awesome. Okay. It's good to hear a lot of people are still doing live events. I know that got a lot of use when the pandemic was at its height. But certainly it's still got value. But I'd imagine and I don't know if even your comments today are suggesting that the normal Teams meeting is being used heavily for large meetings as well. So I'm still surprised that I'm in a lot of large meetings, and the meeting options still aren't catching on. In September 2022, there's no reason for me to have a meeting with 500 people and lose control in terms of, hey, can you please go on mute? Can you blah, blah, the meeting options, right? You cut them all off and turn it on when you need it. But just, best practices for large meetings is, we really need more of that in the community. We use the live events for when we use a backroom chat and then a public facing Q&A. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Backroom chat is another interesting comment or concept. I'm often in meetings with customers where it's a Microsoft team and the customer, and I'm sure on the customer side it's the same thing. You're in the meeting, but you also want to talk with your team about things going on in the meeting. I wish there was an easy button for, hey, take all of my team members in this meeting and create a side chat for them, and you end up having to do it manually, but it can be useful. So you can continue to have those conversations, and ultimately what I end up doing right as the meeting's going is just trying to fire it up quickly and start adding a bunch of names. But also the key for me is some good best practices on the naming. I'll usually do something like a INT for internal, and then I will put the date of the meeting we're in, something like back chat, and then the name of the topic of the meeting itself. Oops, I hit the wrong button there. But I do all of that because, again, what I also tend to find is that back chat channel will end up being will end up living for a while, right, as people continue to talk about that topic. So that's why I try to name them well, because you never know when a little side chat will suddenly become a long running group chat. So group name plus the members of the group there. And so Amanda's talking about having to manually set up a group chat with the presenters. Yep. Now, in theory, let's see here. What I was trying to think is, will group chat work? I feel like I saw this on a roadmap, creating a group chat off of an actual group. And let me see here. Does anybody know?
I think it got pushed back to next month.
Okay, but it is a thing. I'm not misremembering. It sounds like
you were not misremembering. Okay. I monitor the roadmap once a week.
Oh, there you go.
Well, as a trainer, it's my job to know what's coming out.
Absolutely. Well, that may be a big deal, Amanda, for us that are trying to do those chats, because if those presenters are maybe put into a group ahead of time, sounds like sometime soon we'll be able to start up this group chat with the name of that group, and that might get us closer to solving our problem there. So we'll all look forward to that one. But yeah, certainly today it's not there. It sounds like it's coming soon. So awesome. I'm glad we had that talk, because that's I actually I saw that on the roadmap, but didn't put two and two together about how that was going to help my little back chat challenges. Awesome. All right, it's good stuff. What else is going on out there? I was going to talk just a little bit about tasks and teams. I don't know if people are using that much and are already aware. This might just be common knowledge for this group. This group's a little more advanced. You guys are a little past the 100 level there, but being able to go to a chat and create a task for it in GCC, which is the demo environment I'm in, it's like has that look of a planner task. But once tasks, what is it called? Task by planner and to do comes in, you'll get that ability to create those to do tasks as well. But I use that a lot for my task management when I want to come back to a particular item later. And I also use it to get the URL of posts which isn't hard in a channel, right? That's a standard copy link functionality. But sometimes I actually want a URL to a one-to-one chat post. Like maybe I want to come back to this post with a loop component in it. And so I don't have that copy post or copy link option here, but create a task, little hat up. Of course, trying to demo something, of course. Let's try it again. And you guys saw it work just a minute ago. Let me try on another pose. That's funny. It's like the systems just know when you're demoing live, and they just want to be that way. But as you saw when it did work, hopefully you saw that there is a URL as part of the creation of that task, and I often use those. Yeah, it's not going to give it to me. I use those. I'll grab that for my notes, and won't even create the task. I'll just use it to get the URL. So, little pro tip there. And seeing some continued discussion about live event in the chat. Attendees can't see the chat, only the Q&A. Yep. So, yep, you guys are talking through that. Like I said, at some point as I get better with this, I don't know. Actually, what I was about to say is I would like to make our chat part of the recording, but maybe I don't know if you guys actually want that. Maybe you prefer to have your chat, at least from a real-time perspective, be behind the scenes and not be a part of the YouTube channel. So I'm sort of even right now rethinking that approach. So I'll leave it off for now.
May I offer an opinion on that, Ricardo?
Sure.
There are things that we put in chat that might indicate our agencies that we may not want on publicly on social media. At least for where we work, our names do have to be kept private, especially if we're working in certain environments.
Yep.
I don't know if a lot of these folks are in state agencies. I'm in a federal agency, so it may be different for us.
You're right.
But like on my YouTube channel, I very explicitly never say that I work for who I work for because of the privacy requirements.
Right. Makes sense. I think the vote is now clear. There will be no chat on the recording. So glad we got that worked out. Awesome. I think I'm seeing new folks on the line here, in addition to the regulars. So again, if you're new, if this is your first time, this is an open ask me anything kind of forum, office hours, whatever you want to call it. So if you came here with any kind of a question, no matter what topic, if you want to say, hey, Ricardo, can you show the blah, 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 or demo the so-and-so, or what's up with XYZ? We're happy to talk about that. Both myself as well as other folks on the line who as you can see, are also very well versed. So yeah, if this is your first time, feel free to come off mute or add to the chat with any questions or anything you've got. Anybody new or regulars that have anything out there? Quiet group today.
I actually have a question for you if everybody else is silent.
Sure.
On the roadmap about 2, maybe 3 weeks ago, it launched to say that the polls in Teams meetings, you should be able to reuse a poll. I am currently not seeing it in our environment. I'm wondering if you're seeing it in yours.
So reusing a poll.
Right.
Is that a pre-created one or just polls, period?
So if you've used it, like, for example, I teach a class every month and I always ask the same question at the beginning, like, what is your comfort level with XYZ platform?
Oh, yeah.
And I have to retype that poll every single new meeting. I should be able to take that, any poll that you used within the last 30 days, you should be able to take it and then just automatically insert it into the new meeting without having to recreate it and have it go to have the same question over and over in your forms backend.
Oh, okay.
So it just pulls it from your library and says, oh, do you want to use this one again? And I say, yes, please.
Yeah. And so then I would think that that would have shown at this point of the UI.
So what ends up happening is when you right next to, because I can see it in the commercial, what happens once you add the tab is next to instead of having the new poll button on the right-hand side of the screen, it shows you suggestions, and there's reuse poll suggestions on the right-hand side of the screen.
Okay, so I've switched to my commercial tenant. Let's see that. Yeah.
And I know that sometimes on the roadmap, launch doesn't always mean launched. So that's why I was asking if anybody else can see it.
Yeah. You may be more cutting edge than the roadmap was expecting.
Well, I've got a dev environment too, the G5 or the E5 dev environment that Microsoft lets you sign up for.
Right. And there. And then.
So instead of going through it through that way, actually, would you do me a favor here?
Mm-hmm.
Go into the meeting itself, like the meeting details.
Okay. So like through.
Or you could do that plus to add the apps, but I'm seeing it in the meeting details section.
Okay.
And then select forms.
So basically adding a tab for it. Okay.
Yep. And then once you add the tab and click save, that's where it's giving me the option when I'm setting it up in advance to use a new poll, see suggestions down below.
Right.
So some of those suggestions are polls from prior events. I'm not seeing this in the GCC.
And so now I'm wondering for a given, if I come back, this is the GCC one. If I come back to this meeting, add a tab here. It's still, so it's always still just a brand new one. Okay.
Yep. Though I will, for those who are following along with this, I will say that if you go into the meeting itself and add the tab there, sometimes you'll have better luck than if you do it from while the meeting is active. So a lot of times I keep two screens open and I go into the meeting details themselves as if I'm adding a new participant or something like that.
Right.
And then in that location is where sometimes I'll see it populate before I'll see it populate in the actual meeting.
Yep. So this is the experience that we're waiting for then in government.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Well, it's good to see it's at least
Brian
there.
Brian has a question. Would that just add it to the existing responses, or does it separate them for the next meeting? In my experience, it separates them out so that it's as how you can create a poll, launch it, close it, reopen it. It's almost like I closed it and then reopened it in a new meeting. And then instead of getting an aggregate across meetings, I get just the responses from that specific meeting. That way I don't have to constantly retype the same question over and over. Or at least that's what I'm seeing in the dev environment. I haven't seen it in GCC yet.
Another thing to look forward to. Stuff. Checking the chat here. Good stuff. We got a few more minutes here. Anything, any other questions? Anything anybody wants to see? Anybody out there using shared channels yet? Those that have been on this line a while know I'm, for whatever reason, I'm obsessed with the power of shared channels. I actually use them a lot in my day-to-day work within internally. Not available yet in GCC. Is that right? I thought that they were there
today. I just saw it working as an owner today. I saw it in the background, shared channels. So I don't know if it's something that just became available, but I literally just looked at it.
Okay, because it is not. There's several back-end steps to enable it, so it certainly won't just come on by default. So I guess I have to double check that. But yeah, the admins have to do some things, and it may be some things that the organization is not ready to do related to like B2B, allowing domains to kind of talk with each other. So I could see some orgs deciding, not to do it. But yeah, I thought it was launched, so I'll check on that. Certainly it's not in my government tenant here, but that's because I don't think I went and did the steps.
It's still listed as in development.
In development for GCC.
I'm sorry, rolling out. Beg your pardon. It's rolling out. It's the 2 dots. So it's rolling out.
Okay.
We aren't seeing it in our environment, but we also know that it has to be enabled. And I have a bi-weekly meeting with the people who enable it. They're not seeing it yet.
Okay. Oh, the back-end admins aren't seeing it?
Yeah, the admins. Because again, I went through and did it in the dev environment and said, hey, do you guys see this button yet?
Right.
So it's still rolling out. So it's probably not to all of the tenants yet. So whoever's seeing it, yay, you're lucky. I'm waiting for them too. I'm kind of obsessed with them too.
Yeah.
No, I'm not seeing it to add, but when I do when I go in and want to manage the team under channels, it's listed as, active, deleted, and then there's a section for shared channels from other teams.
Oh, okay.
Oh, the setup piece. Yeah. I've been seeing that for about 2 months as well, but the actual ability for the admins to enable it still isn't there, at least in our environment. Because while it's in the rolling out status, it's trying to cross all of the environments across Microsoft's customer base. So it's not even officially launched yet.
Yeah. And this will be
take over, Ricardo.
Which no problem. But this will be useful, because again, it's you could potentially be accepting an external channel from someone else and adding it to your existing team, which I think is one of the powerful usage scenarios. So that's where this here becomes important to kind of know which channels in the team are a shared one, if the little icon doesn't already make it obvious. I see a hand up. Is that Glenn? Yeah.
Yes. Hi. I just have a quick question. When I create a whiteboard in a meeting, the system automatically saves it to OneDrive and has created a folder in OneDrive named whiteboards. And when you open Windows Explorer, all your whiteboards are in OneDrive in the folder named whiteboard that the system created. You can rename them. You can send them to people who missed the meeting or whatever. But we found that's for the majority of us. For a few people, they don't have anything they don't have that system created whiteboard folder in OneDrive. It is saving their whiteboards to downloads. And I think that's wrong. And do you have any idea why that might be happening or what could be done about it?
And these are people who are enabled for OneDrive?
Yes, they're in our organization. The very few people this is happening to, the vast majority have it like I have it.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, my first thought would be obviously they're in your org, but could have OneDrive disabled, and I would think in that case maybe the system is defaulting to downloads. But if
they had nothing at all in their OneDrive, so maybe you're right. Maybe there is a problem.
Oh, you're saying like their OneDrive is completely blank, not just the whiteboards folder.
Right, completely.
Yeah.
Blank.
So I would just make sure they are actually fully enabled for OneDrive, because then both their whiteboards and their meeting recordings should, be going in there in those pre-created folders, along with everything else, really, anything they do. And so, in fact, another way to check that, go on a Teams, one-to-one chat. Can I share any files in there? Because that would be another indication of whether or not OneDrive is working. And then, of course, even checking in their teams and go to files, and do I have this tab working as well. So a lot of little indicators for whether or not OneDrive is working for them. But that would be my first thought. Something's up with their use of OneDrive.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. All right, good stuff. So yeah, hopefully that was helpful. Glad to see everybody here today. We'll keep it rocking next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Yeah, and we'll just keep it rolling. So see you guys next week. And this will be added to aka.ms/cute4teams if you need to see any back episodes. I think we're on episode 74 or something. It's crazy. You guys have been around a long time. All right, we'll see you all next week.
Would you please quickly repeat your other session? You said you have another session.
The other one is Coffee for Teams. So this is Cute for Teams, and the other one is aka.ms/coffee for teams. And that's essentially, I've been doing a decaf version of that, meaning I do a late night 9 p.m. Eastern session on Thursdays, and I'm trying to do a early morning one that I think I'm going to start on Tuesday mornings, 8 a.m. We'll see how that works out. I used to do it on Saturdays, but essentially same kind of concept, although it's more, it's not a lot of people talking at me. It's more me talking, just doing tips and best practices. But that URL, aka.ms/coffee4teams, will show you all the back episodes on that one and allow you to connect to the next one. So thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe and check out the blog for more content.